It is a terrifying feeling when you realize that your life belongs to everyone else but you. I spent years sacrificing my own identity just to make my family proud, and it got me into a miserable depression. I felt like I was on stage, playing a character, and even though I knew I was doing it, it wasn't easy to stop. This leads into our first chapter, why we want our family to approve of us. Reason number one why you want your family's approval is because of biology. So our brain does everything it can to try and keep us alive, and it knows that your family kept you alive as an infant. When we're infants, we can't really do anything to keep ourselves going. We have to rely on other people, all the people around us. We need to rely on kindness. Brain wants to do anything it can to keep those people happy so that we don't face the threat of losing them and having to be by ourselves, fending for ourselves, and inevitably starving to death because of that. Now, I know that can sound really, really dramatic, but that really is how our brain works. Our brain literally wants to keep everything the same, and it wants to do everything in a very safe way, because the number one goal for our brains are survival. And even though our family doesn't necessarily actually keep us alive today, our brain still thinks that they do. Because like I said, it likes to cling to everything that ever kept it alive. So it makes a whole lot of sense when you look at it biologically and you think, okay, my primal brain is really, really afraid of disappointing my family because it thinks that if I do that, there's a threat there. And the threat is that my family could kick me out and I would not be accepted. And therefore I will not have food, water, the same bond with them, the emotional safety. Therefore, you get those kind of feelings of anxiety and worry about, going in your own path, or letting them know about how you feel about certain things or your identity or whatever your specific situation is. So unconsciously, as we grow up, whoever raises us, their voice tends to kind of blend with our own. A lot of the time, if you have that inner critic voice, that can be one of your family members who may have been quite critical of you. It can be a mix of different people's voices, but it's very interesting. You know that saying, all the people that you love are still with you? That's very true. They're still with you. They're still inside your brain. You might be getting afraid not only of the kind of external threat of them being angry at you, but also you're afraid of the kind of internal version of them. And it feels a little bit like pieces of your brain is clashing with itself, because yeah, you want to express yourself, you want to go for your dreams and goals, but you have mini mom, mini dad, mini grandparents inside your head that's kind of telling you, no, don't say this, no, don't do that, because I'll be upset, because things won't make sense anymore, etc. And they also teach us what feels safe and what feels unsafe. And they might have taught us that going for our own goals and going and doing our own things is an unsafe thing, even if inadvertently. They might not have necessarily said it outright. And that stays with you forever. And your inner child has probably felt, well, there's two options. Your inner child either felt incredibly safe with your family, wants to kind of recreate that feeling as an adult, unconditionally tell them everything about your life and all of your plans, despite the fact that you know that your family probably won't approve of it and will discourage you from doing that thing. But it wants to recreate those feelings of safety, that feeling of openness, and just that deep bond. So you go ahead and tell them things, and then they discourage you, and then you don't follow your dreams or do that thing that you want to do. Or the other option is that maybe you didn't feel safe with your family, and your brain is trying to kind of not recreate it, but trying to manufacture a feeling of safety in the present day by telling your family about how you feel about certain things, or about your dreams and your goals, all these different things. I'm going to get into this a little bit later, but I feel like as kids we saw our parents as gods. We wanted to impress them above all else, and that feeling can stick with us into adulthood. So you either refrain from telling them about that thing that you want to do, or you do tell them and then they disapprove of what you want to do, and then it just kind of creates this cycle, this never-ending cycle of wanting them to approve of you, but also wanting to do your own thing and wanting to live your life and wanting to be yourself. The third thing that impacts us seeking our parents' approval is the economy. So we need to be a little bit realistic. The economy isn't the best right now, and it's quite hard for many of us to move out of our parents' houses. Many of us need our parents in order to survive, literally. And there could literally be a present day threat of being kicked out. So that makes complete sense. Even if you're living by yourself, you may still just want to kind of retain that bond with your family. Your family might be a place of support for other things, practical support or emotional support, and you really don't want to let them down by kind of going on your own path and doing your own thing. And the last thing I think would be history and that repetition throughout history. I know you know the phrase, respect your elders. Older people's approval has been prioritized for centuries, which can be amazing in the right hands. I know that there are a lot of older people who have a lot of great wisdom, a lot of things to offer, and practical advice is amazing. Harmful systems, I believe, have been really upheld because of this phrase, respect your elders, and because of the fact that people are taught to unconditionally respect their elders. And yeah, I guess we're taught that obedience and respect are the same thing. And if you don't obey your elders, then you're disrespectful. And then also that choosing yourself is selfish. There are so many different things that are turned into negative labels for us because of all of this, because of history, throughout history. So many things haven't changed because of the fact that people are just trying to respect the older generations. And I don't think that they should change. I've got a very excited Frenchie behind me, so I'm sorry about the snorting noises. Like, it literally makes sense that you're seeking their approval and dulling yourself down, because it's literally the safest option in so many cases. But it's not the option that's gonna make you thrive. And do you want to just be breathing, or do you want to be happy as well? Do you want to experience your life? Time is so fleeting. Your life will be over before you know it. So why would you obey every single thing that your family is telling you to do, even if it doesn't align with who you truly want to be and how you truly feel, your true self? I think I would rather take the riskier path and go my own way and do what I really, really want to do, rather than obey everything. But that wasn't always the case. Chapter 2. They judge us because they want to protect us. I had my own experiences with a lot of this. I find that when I do tell my family about, my plans and the things, how I feel about myself and all these sorts of things, they are discouraging, but at the end of the day, it comes from a place of care. I'm quite open about my dreams and my goals. As I have been being open about my dreams and my goals with my family, I found a pretty big pattern emerging. I feel like there's a lot of verbal support in the moment, when I tell them, oh, that's amazing, Daisy, go on, continue doing that, that's really cool, that's really unique, do whatever makes you happy. But when I actually make the moves, the practical steps towards whatever it is, I'm met with them making fun of my dreams, or calling them unrealistic, calling me selfish for wanting to go for my dreams, or just saying, oh, just do this one thing that we want you to do. Just do this before you do it, and then it ends up becoming a giant list. So almost like procrastination from other people to go and do the thing that I want to do, which is kind of funny. This has happened for me, especially when it comes to my YouTube channel. There's a lot of verbal support. Wow, that's really, really cool, amazing. But when it comes to the nitty gritty and actually getting down to business, suddenly it becomes just a waste of time and just some fairy dream. On my journey, I've been finding that my family has a fantasy version of who they want me to be, rather than just accepting and seeing the true me. And maybe they see parts of the true me. They tend to kind of intellectualize it and fit it with the version of me that they have in their head, if that makes sense. They also have certain goals for their fantasy version of you. A lot of the time these goals are their own unrealized goals, or just, what they think will keep you safest, or maybe they even they're accepting you for who you are, but they might be erasing certain things or like moving certain things about you around in order to put a goal on you, if that makes sense. But also people have different things that they view as accomplishments. The world is changing, and we see, like growing our social media as an accomplishment, and maybe spreading a really positive message as an accomplishment, whereas they would see going the 9-to-5 route and getting a degree as the ultimate accomplishment. Both of these things are accomplishments, but that doesn't mean that one is better than the other, or like you have to do one or the other. It really is up to the individual. Like I said earlier, I think their wisdom can be really, really helpful, but it comes from their time. It comes from a completely different world and a completely different society where expectations were different. But there are still a few, kind of base things that haven't really changed. So for example, stability is very important, and my family encouraged me to go and get a degree. And for a while I was hesitant and, kind of against it because I knew what I wanted to do with my life. But in the end, I ended up going ahead and doing it. I realized stability is really important, and stability is a thing that's never really going to change as the world changes, and needing to stay stable. So I went ahead and I got my degree, and I'm grateful that I got my degree because now I know that I have something to fall back on. So, it's okay for you to take a little bit of advice and stuff, and, it's just important to be nuanced. See when they're helping you and see when they're not helping you, doing the opposite. Our families have a lot of biases and conditioning that they are projecting onto us. So they're trying to keep us safe from what they see as dangerous, even though that thing might not necessarily actually be dangerous in the modern world. Like today, self-expression is a very important thing, especially in the Western world. In our family, in our parents' generations, that wasn't necessarily accepted. That was kind of frowned down upon, You don't really do the thing that's out of the box, because that would make the community uncomfortable. So they're trying to keep us safe from that kind of judgment. In turn, they're actually hurting us more because they are becoming the judges. It should be more so that the world gives you lessons for you to learn and stuff like that, and then you come home and your family is your safe space, rather than the opposite way around. But being censored by our family can be really, really painful, and it feels almost like a self-betrayal. And because we love our families, we tend to just listen to them. I find that family seems to think that because they raised you, they know every single little thing about you, which is just not the case at all. So I've been finding that I have to make the bold moves and kind of make those decisions without support, and then get that support later. They turn around and they validate you as soon as you become successful. For example, I always kind of had a feeling that I was autistic, and as I was going through my diagnosis, I kept getting, family saying, "Oh no, you're not autistic, you're not autistic, why would you say that?" And then as soon as I went and I got that diagnosis, they turned around and they're like, "Oh, we always thought you were, I'm glad that you have this, I'm glad you know more about yourself." So they either deny the fact that they held you back, or they just say that they wanted to keep you safe in hindsight. There is a cost that comes with not going for your goals, and it is a heavy one. Chapter 3. The cost of obeying them constantly. I felt put down by multiple people over long periods of time, telling me that either my dreams weren't realistic or the parts of my identity, like my autism, were just non-existent. And when multiple people are kind of telling you certain things and ganging up on you and whatever, it can still be very, very harmful to you. And eventually you're gonna end up listening, just because it reduces conflict. So for the past year, I've been seeking their approval over my own happiness. It wasn't a very good year. So over time, as time kept going on, I just felt like I was betraying myself by ignoring my feelings and my goals just to make my family happy. I was making my family happy, and that did feel good. I felt proud of myself that I was kind of like being that person that they wanted me to be. And it was honestly so peaceful. I felt like I was making them proud, and I felt like I wasn't being caught in conflict anymore as much as I used to be. I just felt like that kind of ideal daughter that I always wanted to be. And after a long time of doing this, I started kind of treating my true self as an intruder, and I pushed it away, and I just kept on, leaning into the kind of voice and the goals that my family gave me. But there's always like a feeling or a voice that just nags at you. It says, "We are not doing what we were born to do. This doesn't feel right. Why are we doing this?" And I felt like I was just slowly being ripped away from my truth. And the voice never ever left, but it did get quieter and quieter and quieter. Sometimes, occasionally, it would kind of shout, but then it would get quieter and quieter. The kind of mask that your family made for you literally becomes a mask. You kind of become that to the outer world, and you only feel like in private you can be your true self, if even. And honestly, when you reflect on it later, it is really scary and uncanny. Like, who was that? Like, how did I completely change my personality and become a different person? It's really creepy when you look back on it. Sometimes you can completely rewrite your future plans or your identity as well. And eventually you start moving towards that life and that future that isn't truly yours. Even when I was doing exactly what they wanted me to do, it didn't really feel like it was affecting them positively. It was literally just gossip for them. It was just things to talk about with the neighbors and to talk about at like family gatherings. That's all it was. It didn't make them happy. It didn't change their lives in some way. It was literally just conversation topic for them. So I began to realize, I don't know why I'm sacrificing my entire life just so that they can have a conversation occasionally. I became really burnt out, and all these realizations kind of piled on top of each other. I realized that I physically I could not keep living as this caricature of Daisy. I had to choose myself. I only saw that path. I started to reject these goals that my family had made for me, and I decided to bring my audacity back and become selfish again, because there's nothing wrong with having those labels. I feel like betraying myself so deeply was really pointless, when to them it was literally just fuel for conversation. So yeah, it can be really scary to break away from their opinion, but it's way scarier to lose who you truly are just in pursuit of their approval. Final chapter: how to break free. Open Google and just look up a stock image of a crowd. That's what your family is. Pick one of the people. That's a member of your family. They're just people. I feel like subconsciously, when you're seeking their approval above all else, it kind of means that you're seeing them as like these eternal judges and like these decision makers. Like they have control over your entire life, when they don't. They're literally just people. They have their own fears, they have their own traumas, they have their own biases, they have their own dreams. They have their own identity. They have their own conditioning, and they have their own view of life. They're just people. It's just some person's opinion at the end of the day. And also, you came to Earth to be you. You're born so that you can be you and so that you can help the world with your own experiences, your own lessons, your own skills, whatever it is. Sometimes I feel parents see their kids as like extensions of themselves, like as mini versions of them. They want their kids to do what they never could, or they want their kids to stay safe and kind of go down that same path that they went down. And they don't get to choose your life for you just because they raised you as a kid, and you don't owe them anything just because they raised you as a kid. That's literally the bare minimum. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to keep you alive as a kid. That's their job. You don't have to unconditionally obey them just because they did their job when you were a baby. And I find that in the end, choosing myself actually became the less tense option. When I was constantly obeying them, the inside of my head was such a horrible place to live in, and there was so much friction. It was so tough that after I chose myself, their opinions just bounce off of me at this point. So make sure that when they're giving you advice, like, ask yourself, is this condescending? Or is there some truth in this that I could listen to? Or I could even take this advice, but kind of mold it a little bit so that it works more for me and my individual needs. Honestly, I would say if you have big dreams or whatever, I wouldn't announce it to people who have kind of proven that they don't give you unconditional support. When ideas are born, they are so fragile. They're just like a newborn baby, and you have to do everything that you can to keep that idea safe. And even if that means that you can't tell people that you love about that idea, then you'll just have to not tell them. And like sometimes you can even show your family, you know, what you're doing, what you're up to, all your goals, whatever, and just let them be disappointed. Even kind of take it as like an exercise or like as a lesson, you know. Train yourself to be okay with them being disappointed, or be okay with them not being okay with whatever you're doing. Because like I said, they'll live. It's fine. You're not harming anyone just by going and doing your own thing and going down your own path. Sometimes you can feel a lot of guilt and shame when you start kind of going on your own journey and going on your own path when they don't approve of it. And that by choosing yourself that you're betraying your family. But honestly, it all comes back to just how this is your own life. Your family made their choices, their voice may be in your head and making you feel heavy about this, but feeling guilty won't kill you. It's literally just a feeling. The thing that's important is actions. Feelings won't kill you, but actions do have a huge impact on how your life is going to go. So sometimes you need to sit with your emotions and just survive, you know, the storm that they bring. And like, it's okay if they're disappointed. It's okay if they're angry at you. You need to always choose yourself. You don't owe anyone a fantasy version of you. You owe yourself the real you, and you owe yourself growing and making that real you feel safe. From this point onwards, the only opinion that you should care about is your own. With nuance, of course. You know, make sure you're not harming anyone else. But by choosing yourself, you're not harming anyone else. But when you don't follow your goals, when you do listen to your family at the expense of yourself, you are harming someone, and that is you. And if you follow that spark inside of you that is leading you towards a different life and an alternative life, instead of listening to their fear, then you can honestly change your world, and you could change the world depending on what your goals are. They don't have to understand before you start. You just need to start first, and their understanding will come later. And if you keep waiting for your family to completely approve of you and understand you before you make your moves, then you're never going to make your moves, because your family isn't going to completely support you and understand you until you prove to them that whatever it is that you're doing will work. So move despite that fear. Go for your dreams without telling them. Even if it means you feel like you have no support. Build support in yourself. If you had to do it then secretly, then just do it. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I'm really sorry that if it wasn't the best. I'm studying the algorithm, and I'm feeling a lot of pressure to be perfect. And when you feel a lot of pressure to be perfect, you end up freezing a lot. So that's kind of what's happening. I hope that you enjoyed this video even a little bit, and if you did, then please let me know by leaving a comment, leaving a like, or even subscribing if you extra enjoyed it. So thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye everyone!